Welcome to another segment of my YouTube channel. This show is a little bit different. What we want to do is talk about transitioning from the Turks and Caicos Islands to the United Kingdom. There are hundreds of persons who have migrated from the Turks and Caicos Islands and from other islands in the Caribbean to the United Kingdom. And even with the United States now, with the US restriction on the visa, whereby a lot of classes are going to be online, you might find that more persons may want to migrate to the United Kingdom. And so I have a young lady here on my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about the transitioning from the Turks and Caicos Islands to the United Kingdom. So if you're planning to go there, you can watch this YouTube, share with your friends and family so they can be aware and understand, what to expect when they move to the United Kingdom. So Sasha, thank you for coming on my YouTube channel. But before we start, please tell us about yourself, who you are, and what are you doing in the UK?
My name's Sasha Arthur. I am in my second year of law school, so I have 1 year left. I study law in Manchester, so I've been living in Manchester for 5 years now.
Okay, Sasha. So Sasha, 5 years ago, you left Turks and Caicos Islands. You arrived in the United Kingdom. What were some of the things that surprised you, when you arrived in the United Kingdom?
I can literally remember the first day stepping out of the airport, and I was wondering, what's going on with this cold? I literally thought the air condition was blowing from the inside out, but the weather was like the first thing that shocked me. Getting to the city of Manchester is much different than being in Turks. The prices of everything were definitely a shock.
The prices were higher?
Everything's so much lower. So seeing that, it was amazing. Like knowing now here, $8 for strawberries, over there like £1. So quite surprising, seeing the difference between the prices.
The pricing. What about the apartments? Are they expensive?
Well, when I moved along with my sister. So I would say getting a 2-bedroom sometimes can be equivalent to getting a 1-bedroom. So I'd recommend always looking at actually getting a house or getting a flat instead of going into like student accommodation, because sometimes it works out way cheaper.
Okay. Now, being a British overseas territory, what steps did you have to do? Did you have to register as a British citizen, or because you have the British passport, you automatically just qualify?
Yeah, so personally, because I was born in the Bahamas, I had to actually go through the route of getting naturalized as a Turks Islander and then getting registered as a British citizen. But it wasn't a long process. It was just the idea of applying to the passport office. Within about 6 months, you get it back. You just do your biometrics, your fingerprint, you get it back, and then you apply for the passport, and I had my passport in about a week. Okay. So it's definitely worth it. It's a pricey process, but it's definitely worth it once you get the passport.
What about the cost of universities in the UK? Is it reasonable compared to the United States or other places?
Yeah, I would class it as reasonable personally, because after living there for 3 years, you're fine to apply for student finance, and it just helps you cope, because once you get into university, they give you maintenance loans, they pay your tuition, and you don't actually have to pay that back until you're making a certain amount above a threshold that they have. So it works out to be reasonable.
But you have to be there for 3 years.
Yeah. So that's the only thing when it comes to that. But as well as I can remember, for my first year, my parents actually paid my tuition, because I hadn't been there for the 3 years yet. So they paid my tuition, and with the universities there, they're quite reasonable in terms of payment plans. So you can work out with them, this is how much I'm going to be able to pay this month, this is how much I'm going to be able to pay this month, and they're fine with that, as long as you communicate that this is where I stand and this is what I want to do. So it's quite good.
I remember when I went to Manchester, and I was so surprised. Almost everywhere I turned, I went to Turks and Caicos Islands. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. There are so many Turks and Caicos Islands right in the city of Manchester. It just made you feel like you were home.
Yeah, so it's a big city, but once you get into town, sometimes you turn and you see someone you know from Turks. So yeah, but it's good that we're all in the same place because it's good to help each other out.
So, what advice would you give to persons? I mean, would you recommend them come to the UK to do their A levels first, or do their A levels here locally? What advice would you recommend?
What I did is I moved to the UK straight out of high school. So I did my A levels in the UK. I definitely recommend doing your A levels in the UK because they're free. You don't have to pay for them. And that will be your 2 years going on to university. So you knock off 2 years, you're doing something, you go into university. What I did is I actually took a gap year as well. So you can make up the 3 years very, very easily. But yeah, definitely moving to the UK, do your A levels, get familiarized with the area, because at that point, sometimes when you're thinking about moving to the UK for university, you don't know the areas yet, so you don't know the different different sections of the UK, you know, London, Manchester, Newcastle. You don't know them, so you don't know exactly where you want to go. But if you've lived there for 2 years, then you know, okay, I visited London, I like it, I've been to Hull, I've been to Leeds, I like it, so you can decide. It gives you like a better sense of environment.
And the good thing about the A-level program in the United Kingdom is that you have so many choices. I think here locally, the choices are very limited, the subject areas.
Yeah, because in the UK you can do things like a BTEC, which is like you can do it in science or like sports or health and social care, and you can get into university with that. You can do access courses as well. So if you're over 19 and thinking of moving to the UK, you don't have to do 2 years. You do 1 year, and you're able to go straight into university. So there's much more options there available than locally.
The only issue, the drawback though, is that the UK is so far, miles away, you know. Like, it's not like the United States, you can just hop on a plane from, you know, Chicago or North Carolina. How long is the flight from the United Kingdom to Turks?
Well, normally what I do, because I'm not so well with long flights, so I've never actually traveled on a direct flight where you stop in Antigua. I've never traveled on the British Airways flight. I always take a connecting flight through the States. So what I normally do is I leave from here, I go to Miami, and I leave from Miami, go to London, and then I go from London to Manchester. So that's normally my route to give myself a bit of a break. You walk a little bit. Sometimes I overnight in Miami as well, give myself a little bit of time. But I believe that long flight, I think it's about 12 hours.
Okay. Now, coming from the Turks and Caicos educational system, was it easy to transition into the A-level program in the United Kingdom, coming from our system?
Well, because I went to British Collegiate and they were already based in the Cambridge British system, yeah, that was definitely easy for them to do in terms of like grades. And the way they taught as well is very similar. Like the exam boards were very similar as well. But I did do some CXCs as well. So when I brought those grades to them, they were very confused about what it was. So it's actually quite shocking that they don't really know about anything outside of like the UK. Even like the exam boards and the principals and the head teachers of the schools, they don't really know about the Caribbean examinations. So that was the only little bit of a difference.
Do you plan to return to Turks and Caicos after you complete your law degree, or you're not sure you're going to do it?
I'm not completely sure what I want to do yet, but I feel as though the UK just has a little more opportunities for me in terms of getting more experience, in terms of internships, things like that. So I think I might stay over there for a while, but once I establish myself more, I want to come back home.
That is true, and I would recommend it to anyone really, to get as much experience as possible. My daughter's studying criminology in the UK. I mean, she's your good friend, you're friends with each other. And I would recommend her too, to get the experience, and then eventually, return to the Turks and Caicos. Now, one thing I know about the UK though that I personally do not like, it's like everything seems so small. Yeah. Like you go into the bathrooms, you go into the house, like you can turn around, Whereas in, Turks and Caicos is so bigger,
It's very spacious. You really have to, especially looking for homes, you really have to search and search and search in order to find a home that is similar to one's here, because most of their houses are like terraces or like mini terraces. So
now finding a home, I know, could be a challenge too, because I know they want someone to guarantee, and I'm not sure how does that work. Will they accept? A guarantee from the islands, or you have to find someone in the United Kingdom?
Normally, it's really dependent on the landlord or the agency that you're renting from. I can remember us having that issue when we first moved, because before we moved, we didn't actually have a flat as yet. So when we got over there, we were searching because we wanted to actually be there and look at the flats. So it was about 2 weeks that we were looking. And a lot of the places were saying, there needs to be a guarantor, but the guarantor needs to be UK based. But another thing that they do as well, if you don't have the guarantor, you can pay 6 months rent up front, which is still quite hefty, but it's an alternative.
Okay.
So it really depends on the landlord and how flexible they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you recommend people moving early? Because I remember when, our son, he moved along with Jacksana. I don't remember what year that was, and he was on the wait list for a very long time to get into high school. I think we probably moved in August, I believe, or July. Yeah. Do you recommend people moving early? Because the wait list can be and even the school of your choice, you might not even get that school. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, definitely, because we had the same issue with my sister. We moved in August, like the ending of August in 2015. And by the time we got there and she had to go through the council system of getting into a school, she didn't get into school until October. So she started quite late. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest moving earlier, or there is like the UK government website where you can apply for entry into school, but that will be if you have an address in the UK. Like if you know someone that's there already, that will be able to, get the mail for you, send it to you. Stuff like that.
Okay, so that's good to know. That's an alternative. You can apply if you have
You can apply online, and as long as you have someone that you trust that the mail will go to, they can refer the information to you. So that's something.
So now that you've transitioned United Kingdom, you're okay. You don't have any.
Yeah, I'm completely fine. Mm-hmm. The only thing that bothers me in Manchester is the rain. That is it.
Oh, it rains a lot.
Yeah, it rains all the time, but. That's completely it. Everything else I love. There's so much opportunities. There's so much things to do. Yeah, it's great.
Well, we have a lot of people that have migrated there, and I'm not even sure they're going to come back. I don't know. We have a lot of Turks and Caicos Islanders who migrated. Not only Turks and Caicos Islanders, we have people who from other nationalities who are British overseas territories here. Yeah. They end up going to the United Kingdom as well. So it's obviously it's a choice up to an individual. What they want out of life. What advice, in the closing remarks, what advice would you give to anyone thinking about moving to United Kingdom from the Turks and Caicos Islands? What advice would you give them?
Definitely do your research. Do your research into the different areas. If you have any kids, the schools, if you're going into school, look at the ratings of the schools. Make sure that they have the course that you want to do. Make sure you have the qualifications or you can get them. Another thing about areas is make sure that you choose somewhere that you'll be comfortable in, financially wise, as well as like mental wise. Thinking about finances as well. Even you have to make sure that you do realize that the pound is a heavier currency. So by the time you get to the UK with your dollars, that can be knocked down by 30%. So you have to remember that, okay, I'm going with this amount, but when this gets converted, I'm only going to have this amount. So definitely save. Make sure that you're ready to make that change. And just say in your head mentally, I'm moving to the UK, and this is what it is. Because a lot of people, I know a lot of people that have moved and have moved back because they couldn't adjust. So I think it's a mental thing. Like you literally just have to say, this is what I'm here for. This is why I want to be here. I'm going to do it. And that's that. So yeah, just say, be prepared to move. If you know anyone that lives there, make sure you ask questions, because people always know the little ways to like beat the system and keep you educated about it. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for being on the YouTube channel, and all those who are watching. I encourage you to share this YouTube segment with your friends and family. I think this is a great opportunity for us. I know there's some concerns about us in the United Kingdom, our relations, But while we have this opportunity to go there for educational purpose, I think we should pursue it. Why not? It's cheaper than anywhere else. You after 3 years being a resident, you could get a grant and don't have to pay back until you reach a certain income. So the opportunity is there. Embrace the opportunity. If embracing or you want to increase your knowledge, or you want to go to a higher level, then we have the opportunity right now. And don't worry about the cold weather, the rain. Don't let that deter you. Save some money before you go. So in case some of your parents are looking for a job, you find it difficult finding a job, at least save some money before you arrive in the United Kingdom so you have something to live by until you find that job. So thanks again, Sasha, for being on the show, and for all of you, thank you. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.